Hola amigos, yo soy su nuevo presidente, el señor Donaldo J. Trumpo. Your ex-presidente, el señor Maduro, is no longer your presidente. He kept talking shit, and fucking around, though, and he ultimately found out, though. Anyway, we're going to make Venezuela grande again. Mucho grande. El bigger y el better than ever before. We're going to drill, baby drill. We're going to have a big, beautiful fiesta, all the tacos you want. Mucho mariachi, sexy mamacitas, and delicious margaritas. And President Trumpo is going to be el DJ, okay? Muchas gracias, muchachos. Y let's make el Venezuela grande again. Arriba el Venezuela, amigos.
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy New Year. Looks like we're going to have a pretty quiet, uneventful 2026 after all that happened in the past year. I am kidding. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about. In fact, most of the current events, I think we're going to put off until, well, I'm not most, but the broader discussion we're going to put off until Tuesday. I'm going to have Shane Trejo come on, and we're going to kind of do a deep dive on things. Tonight, we have a very special discussion. I've got two friends of the show, Barry Altman and Hassan Nehme, who we're going to be talking about spirituality and faith in the Republican Party, and to be a very interesting discussion. And it might fit into current events. And I do want to talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Venezuela situation, because we have to. We can't ignore that completely. But real quick, before I do that, I do have one particular piece of housekeeping. I did mention on the last stream that I had built a new tool at rescuemichigan.com. I'd caught up on the Operation Watchdog page, where if you go to rescuemichigan.com, you go to Operation Watchdog. We've caught up on all of the legislation, all the bills, all the votes. Everything is in there. And one thing I mentioned on the show last week was I had noticed as I was putting in all the lawmakers' votes that there seemed to have been a higher than usual rate of absenteeism among lawmakers this year. A lot of them missing a lot of votes. So I thought to make a new page, which you can now see here, view lawmakers' attendance record, and you can actually see how things are going for our elected officials and just how often they actually vote. Now, as a small disclaimer, every very rare occasion, there is a case where a lawmaker has to abstain from voting because of a conflict of interest. But those are very, very rare. Almost always when they are missing votes, it's because they are not in Lansing for whatever reason. And obviously, people can have emergencies, but boy, some of them seem to have a lot of problems. So looking at this list, I now have this page which actually does all of this term and the previous term. So you can actually, if you scroll down, you'll see here, and this is interesting. Look at this is the 2023-24 session. And you can see here, you have most of the senators getting almost every vote in. The most absent U.S. state senator in the previous term was Dan Lowers, with missing almost 1 in 5 votes. But those are pretty uncommon. Almost everybody showed up 9 times out of 10. In the House, interestingly, you see categorically, Republicans were absent more often than Democrats, although I think there's a simple explanation for this. Remember, there was only a 1-seat majority the Democrats had in the last term. It even appeared when they had no majority because there was some vacancies, so there was a whole period when they didn't do anything. But you can see almost all the Democrats showed up almost always. Even the Republicans, most of them showed up almost always. The one that missed the most was William Brooke, and that's because I think he was on active duty for several months into his term and just missed all the votes in the beginning. But that was the previous term. Now, looking at this term in the House, we no longer see that same distribution. Now the Republicans are there more frequently than the Democrats are. The Democrats now in the minority, although, and I would say in general, there is definitely much more absenteeism this term. A lot of lawmakers missing more votes. You have Karen Whitsett, who's missed almost every vote. She is just completely checked out. But other Democrats too. Look, these Democrats have all missed more than 1 in 5 votes, and therefore probably more than 1 in 5 work days, including some that are, well, Peter Hertzberg's a freshman. But Betsy Kofia, who's in a tough district, I wonder if she's thinking about retiring, because she's been either that or she's been out campaigning every day instead of voting in Lansing. Then we have in the state Senate, Obviously, the worst one was the empty seat that Gretchen Whitmer refused to call a special election for the past year. But even still, among Republicans, still a good number of missed votes, and they're in the bottom end with Ruth Johnson having missed 1 in 4 votes. I did also mention, remember when we were talking about Jim Runstead running for state chair of the Republican Party, that's probably going to impact his work in the state Senate. He is on the bottom end there, although others have missed even more votes. And to be fair, again, the Democrats have the majority, so it's not as if in most cases the Democrats aren't passing things with or without Jim Runstead's vote. But there you go. There is the result of the attendance record. So you can find that all at rescuemichigan.com if you're interested. Mark Ashley Price says, Mr. Adam, why do you have to do terrible stuff like this? Putting this on purpose, putting Muslims and Christians against each other in the Republican Party. Trump supporters could lose elections because of that. Well, Mark, first off, this is at Barry's invitation that we're having this event. And we've been talking about doing this, I think, for almost a month now. And we finally got it on the calendar. But yeah, look, hey, they wanted to have this debate. And I'm happy to mediate it. And, it should be an interesting discussion. So we'll see how that goes. But, hey, Mark, take it up with the people in the debate. We'll see what happens. It should be an interesting topic. But first, we obviously have to talk at least a little bit about the current events. And it's funny because I had material prepared from New Year's Day on the events that happened before this weekend. And I guess maybe we'll probably wait till Tuesday to talk with Shane about Zelensky's latest visit to the White House to come begging for more monies and more weapons. But that's all, of course, and of course, Trump spending New Year with his master, Benjamin Netanyahu. We'll talk more about that with Shane on Tuesday, I'm sure. But of course, the big story right now is the kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, and Trump announcing that from now on, or until he decides that the government is suitable for him, that we will directly run the nation of Venezuela, which, despite the remarkable speed of the capturing of Nicolas Maduro, there is now at least some evidence that the nation of Venezuela might be resisting this hostile takeover. In fact, the vice president has come out and said that the people of Venezuela only recognize Nicolas Maduro as their president. But I think, well, there's a lot to unpack here. I think an important starting point we should talk about is, let's start with this point. By all of the laws of God and man, this was a crime. And it's remarkable in the news conference that Trump gave on Sunday morning that he barely even attempted to make it seem as if it was any other way. Nor has he even in the events leading up to this, just kind of freely announcing, we're just going to steal their oil. We're going to keep it. But of course, the countless examples of the story changing constantly, from this is about keeping drugs off the streets to this is about oil, and this is at one point, especially when Netanyahu was in town, this is about fighting Hezbollah and Hamas in Venezuela, to, of course, now it kind of finally just coming right out and saying that this is about oil. So again, barely even attempting to conceal the malevolence. But all that being said, I was thinking that, who's really buying all this nonsensical garbage about Maduro's a terrorist, Maduro's an evil dictator, and blah, blah, blah. And they actually did remember, tons of people believe that. So let me just start by making this point, guys. Every single thing you hear about Maduro in the mass media is talking points given to you from the ultimate point of the CIA. This has been the intention for years and years and years. So in fact, some of the arguments about why it's good Maduro's been taken out go along the lines of, because the people of Venezuela really despise him. He wasn't legitimately elected, they say. Now, I mean, first off, I think that's all that's all nonsense. In fact, I actually was listening to a guy who was doing a podcast who said, I was an international observer in the Venezuela elections. And yes, it was on the up and up, and they did vote for Maduro. But never mind that. The more fundamental thing is, that's not our business. The question of, is Maduro popular in Venezuela, and was Maduro properly elected in Venezuela? Are questions for the Venezuelan people to figure out, okay? Like, I don't know what the people of Venezuela think about Maduro. I'm not there. It's not my country. That's the fundamental thing here, is that we have attacked a sovereign country and kidnapped their president. That's the beginning and the end of this. So a couple of things I want to make a point. And I see Hassan's in the studio now, as is Barry, so I do want to get to them in just a moment. But a couple of points I just want to make here. First off, there's the question of how it was that Maduro was able to be captured so easily, because, as Trump put it, the military, our incredible, amazing military, made this incredible operation a complete success. No other military could have done this. My God, what an amazing operation. There must have been, I mean, those CIA agents had to write all those checks. That's obviously what happened, folks. Look, the Venezuelan government has, by all accounts, thousands of air defense missiles, manpads. So we can shoot down a helicopter with small arms. There was zero resistance to the cat. What obviously happened, what undeniably happened, was that this was a negotiated exchange, probably without Maduro's knowledge, because he apparently was taken in his pajamas with no idea that his country was being invaded when they got him. So obviously, the CIA got to insiders. There's no question that's what happened. Very similar to what happened in Syria. But this is, for all the people cheering about how easy this has all been, this is only the beginning, folks. Like, do you think we are going to be able to own Venezuela entirely just by giving them CIA bribe money forever? I mean, what do they think the people of Venezuela are just going to like lay back and relax and just allow the U.S. to take their country? I mean, we will see. We will see. But as the Trump administration, as Trump himself seems to clearly say, he's already threatened now Cuba, Mexico, Nicaragua, Iran, of course. There's a very clear message here. This was about, I mean, I think probably even more than the oil. The oil is important, but in the scheme of things, Trump's real message is to strike fear at every other country. And the message being received by every other country in the world is surrender to the United States or be destroyed. The message to Russia and China is, you will never be at peace unless you destroy us. That is the message the entire world has received from this. And that is a very, very dangerous game that Trump is playing here. All right. Without any further ado, let me bring in our panel here. And, you guys are certainly more than welcome to discuss the topic I just went through. And again, I'm going to probably on Tuesday have another show with Shane and talk about this in more detail here. But we began the program. We were planning to do this, I think, for the better part of a month now, and for various other things and for other reasons. We didn't happen until tonight, and I certainly didn't know that we were going to have this Venezuela thing hanging over us. But yeah, Barry, you wanted to do this topic on the show, and I'm happy to have the discussion here. And I do see some chats I might come back to, but we want to talk about, because one of the things that happened, I guess, in the past month has been, there was this big, and I'll get you guys introduce the topic, but there was an incident in Dearborn. There's been a lot of stories in Dearborn. And I think that's kind of what started this. But in fact, why don't we start, because Barry, this is the topic that you want us to talk about. And I guess, Hassan, you were happy to come on and discuss this with him. So Barry, you're a friend of the show, and Hassan, you are as well. So why don't you kind of set the table for us and let the audience know like exactly what the terms are that we're going to be talking about here tonight.
So a lot of the stuff that I've seen, it's not only with Christianity, but even with the Republican Party and with people who tend to galvanize themselves based on basic values and beliefs about behavior, culture, whatever. And it just looks like everywhere where we see people beginning to compromise, you just see a big deterioration. And I say that a Black man I'm 64, and when I was a kid, man, you just didn't see the type of trash stuff that's going on in the ghetto today. I grew up in the ghetto, the Parkside projects on the east side of Detroit. And you know, women weren't, you know, they just didn't go around doing certain stuff. They didn't, but I saw that deterioration coming as a kid when people started compromising what girls could wear to school. And I saw all of that just turn into a whore culture, you know, for lack of a better term. And I saw the same thing happen in the Republican Party a long time ago when we started compromising on a couple of different values. You know, I've never been, well, I'm not going to say never, but it's hard for people to get around being called certain names. And it took coming to a point where I no longer cared about people calling me a name, that I was able to face truthful stuff. So I think Christians are called to ask people or called to present Christianity as an alternative to error if they recognize it. Scripture also tells you to admonish a man twice and then refuse him, for such a one is perverted. And I know, you know, one of the things about quoting scripture is some people just don't believe it, So in the process of this, I saw how Dearborn walked its way up into becoming. So first, I don't know if you guys know, but Orville Herbert, who was a longtime mayor of Dearborn, was an avowed racist. That said about racist, I don't even like using the word. But for one, people liking us, to me, is irrelevant. If you don't like me for whatever reason, because I'm short, because I'm dark, because I'm whatever, you know, like I said, so they came out of that in the late 70s, early 80s, out of the park segregation controversy. And immediately it became heavily Muslim populated. So in there, even then, it was kind of hard to see anything going wrong. It just looked like, hey, a lot of Muslims are here. But later on, it turned into an anti-Christian community. And that's how it is now. I mean, people say, well, whatever. I'm not scared to go through Dearborn, but I'm telling you, I've been through there and I've been treated hostilely. I know that. And, you know, to say, this is where me and Hassan kind of had the adversity. By the way, anybody who doesn't know should know, I've known Hassan almost 3 years. I almost love this dude. You know, I mean, you know, he's been in on the inside track about controversies that were going on with me. I've known about stuff was going on with him. I've always considered him a good guy. The fact that I just didn't care about his faith, where he was on it. Where we ended up in controversy here was I said that the Quran calls for the murder of non-Muslims, so infidels. And Hassan challenged me on that. So I presented him with some quotes from the Quran, and he said that those quotes were out of context. So rather than going back and forth, because we did go back and forth for a good little while,
Sure.
Respectfully. And, you know, and so here we are. So I'm saying that the Quran does, no holds barred, absolutely calls for the murder of Christians. You know, whether or not everybody who's a Muslim actually feels obligated to commit themselves to that, I'm saying that that is what it calls for. It's not loopholes or technicalities in there.
All right. I do want to let Hassan respond to that, although I would also just note that it is not difficult to find, especially among non-believers, all kinds of ways that they take statements from the Bible out of context. And I'd be happy to recite some of those. And any believer would tell you, you know, what atheists claim that God's word is often from a place of ignorance. So But that being said, and Hassan, it sounds like you guys have already had some back and forth on this, so maybe you want to give an example, or, well, first I want you to introduce yourself, and then I'll let you address Barry in the way that you would like. We'll go from there.
No, for everybody that doesn't know me, I'm Hassan Nehme. I guess political advocate, former coalition's voice, chair of the party. You know, all around kind of in the party and doing things Republican. I honestly, Barry reached out. I didn't know what the context of this was coming on the show. I didn't know we were arguing theology, but I'll go back to it. The verse that he was quoting on it, where it says that we can kill Christians, and it was Jews as well in that sentence. But the quote that was commented on was a defensive measure, as if because you got to remember, and it goes back to the beginning of the Quran. God doesn't reference Muslims. He references Ahl al-Kitab, which is the children of the books, which is all three faiths, the Jewish faith, the Christian faith, and the Muslim faith. So in the beginning of it, he's speaking to all three. When you get to these verses where he's talking about it, it's talking about if there's a war between us. So if we're being invaded, as in a Muslim nation is being invaded by a Christian nation or a Jewish nation, and they are coming to attack us, we are allowed to kill them in defense. As soon as they lay their arms down or retreat, we are not allowed to kill them anymore. We have to stop because they are our brothers in faith. But a lot of people like to take one sentence and not read the whole verse or the whole paragraph and just want to quote the three words. But you could do that, like you said, in the Bible. You could do that with the Torah. You could do that with anything, even the Constitution. So there's a lot of back and forth on that. I'd like to touch on it. The theology portion of this, how does it touch on Dearborn?
Yeah, I do want to kind of switch over to that, honestly, because we could probably go back and forth for a long time about, one verse of the Quran or another. And first of all, I am certainly no expert, so it's going to be your word against his, and I don't know that would benefit our audience. But since you did mention Dearborn, and maybe Barry, do you want to elaborate? Because certainly Dearborn's been in the news recently. And by the way, I did see this one chat that's from Mark saying, don't do this with Trump supporters for winning elections. Look, I'm of the opinion that there is nothing wrong with debating anything. And if people want to have a debate, then that's fine to have. So I think especially if, there's nothing wrong with there being, with discussing and debating and challenging ideas in the arena. So with that said, maybe I assume, Barry, there's a reason you wanted to get into this, and I assume it has. And you mentioned Dearborn, so do you want to elaborate on what exactly has happened in Dearborn?
So I watched the protests out there with Hudson, the governor candidate, and that guy Jake something.
Jaden Scott.
Yeah, and as I'm watching the stuff, I'm just watching these guys who are doing what. So any group of Muslims could walk through Highland Park or walk anywhere, and I can't see them being attacked, for assembling. And but that's what I saw in Dearborn. I saw these guys being attacked. And I'll tell you, I don't like all of those guys who were there. I promise you that, because one of them, like I said, I'm not going to say, but I'm saying everybody's right to protest. I think that's.
And by the way, I do have a clip of this, and I think this is maybe the incident that kind of touched a lot of this off. So let me put that on the screen. That is, here, let me bring it up here. Hold on one sec. How do I? There we go. This is just a video I happened to find looking for it just now. I'm sure there's 100 different videos, but here is one video, and here it is. So this guy's wearing body armor. He's got, looks like lighter fluid and a Quran. So. All right, so that's the incident. I think that's what got a lot of people into this topic. Is that a fair statement, Barry? Do you think this was
that was one of many That was just really one of many. And like, so for example, as much as I hate to side with a protagonist or antagonist, like that guy was about to sit there and burn the Quran, I don't support people doing that to antagonize people.
Yeah, I mean,
I do support his right to do it. And so, for example, if a Muslim wanted to burn a Bible out, I wouldn't try to take his Bible or assault him for doing it. If the law says that they can do it, I don't think we have a right to make up new laws because we find the laws offensive. If you want to burn a Bible, I don't have the authority to stop you, and I don't think that guy. But it wasn't just that. They were those guys.
The word for what he was doing is spoiling for a fight. It was or agitating. It was looking to. I mean, you saw he showed up with body armor, and he was attempting to get beaten up, or at least to start a battle on the street. To my mind, that's no different than starting a fight. It's an act of aggression. Now, it might not be illegal per se to burn a Quran in the street, or a flag for that matter, but what you're attempting to do is, and you can see the bad faith of what he was doing. I'm going to burn a Quran. Right. I'm going to attempt to get myself beaten up by emotionally attacking people. So, I mean, frankly, I think he's in the wrong for having done that for that reason alone.
Well, I'm coming back. So I do believe that there's a spirit of operation and there's a law of operation. To me, that guy was just in a bad spirit, but he was within the law, as many other protests that I see that I don't like, And man, I'll tell you, when I see gay pride stuff, it burns me up. People can walk through the street. I consider that an act of antagonism, but I can't go out and do anything to the guys. I can't do anything. I can, do my own protest. But I think where this is coming from basically is, the truth is we need to actually say something. If it's going to be whatever offends us, you get a pass on. Where does that?
By the way, Barry, excuse me. I hate to interrupt, but apparently Hassan is having technical difficulties. He's saying he lost all sound. So hopefully we can get that resolved. But obviously, it's going to be a problem if we can't have discussion if someone can't hear or say anything. And he also just dropped out of the studio. So, Hassan, are you back? Can you hear us now? I don't think he can hear us.
You hear us, Hassan?
Well, I see him, but
right. I see him too.
Yep. Hold on. I'm texting him. It's hard to do technical difficulties stuff on the fly when we're live on air. So, yeah, Hassan, we hear you fine, and I don't know if we can do anything from our end on this. It's all we use a thing called StreamYard, and hold on, are you? It says your microphone's not connected, Hassan. Is there another device you can use? Hold on, let me. I'm gonna text you again, Hassan. All right. Well, in the meantime, while we're trying to figure out Hassan here, I guess I can read a couple of chats in the meantime. Let's see here. Going back to my comments earlier about Maduro. Reed Scott says regime change. Hopefully we get Hassan back in a moment. We'll see if we can get this worked out. Reed Scott says regime change never works out well. My main thing is also, why aren't we making priority of arresting people over the Minnesota fraud? Yeah, people have point. So here's a question for the world. How is it that Nicolas Maduro is in custody and Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, the gangbanging Trendagua member, is not? And Reed continues to say the president says very bad, very dangerous waters. Tell us, I said, what's up? He's a great guy. There you go. Hassan, can you hear us now? Is this any better?
Yeah, but now you're super echoey. But I think I'm just gonna connect on my phone. Let me just try to get on there.
Okay, we hear you fine now. But if you and you're not echoing on the stream's end. But if you're having difficulty, yeah, something else. All right.
The AirPods work.
Okay, let me know if the AirPods work. You'll probably have to go to. Oh boy, now I hear myself in the echo, and it's driving me bonkers. So I don't know. The AirPods did not help, at least not for me. Oh, now it's better.
No.
Now it sounds okay for me. Maybe they
Yeah,
are
I just
working.
you just sound like a chipmunk on my end.
That's what I sounded like for a second when I was feeding back into mine, but now I sound okay. I don't think the AirPods helped. So this might be tough to do. Tell you what, in the meantime,
I'm just gonna enter off my phone, Adam. Just
okay, yeah, use
way.
your phone. That's fine too. Yep. Okay, let's see if this works. Hold on.
How's that?
Much better. You sound better too.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. You're vertical now, but it doesn't matter. What matters is we hear you. We hear you fine. Do you not hear us now?
Can you hear me now, Adam?
We hear you all. We've been hearing you. We hear you fine. Larry says, Adam, give the liberal judges a minute and Maduro will be free. Maybe. Okay. We will see. I have no idea. No, we are good. We are good. All right. Then I'll tell you what, we'll come back to talking about Venezuela on the Tuesday show, and we'll get back to the topic at hand here. Where were we again?
Yeah, right.
Well, I was saying how I just thought that it's dead ass wrong to harass any group if they're not breaking the law. And you know, if I could watch the Klan walk through what city, I mean, I've never done that, but I'm saying I'm sure I could without attacking them. And I just don't think people got the right to attack protesters because they're extremely sensitive about it. Yeah. And like he showed that one where the dude was burning the Quran, but there were a lot of other attacks there, physical attacks, and he wasn't burning the Quran. And it was, like I said, just giving the guy a pass on burning the Quran or the one who attacked him over burning the Quran, that was one thing. But like I said, there was several other physical offenses that occurred on camera. And they were just wrong, just really out of order. And I think we've been doing that stuff. That's how we got Antifa right now, where they'll walk up and do stuff in certain locations and not worried about getting arrested. Like I said, just when somebody physically attacks somebody and they haven't physically threatened them, I just think it's bullshit, man. And because we're looking at this one particular incident in Dearborn, I've seen other Christians going into Dearborn who have been got rocks thrown at them. I mean, in the last 5 years or so. So I mean, trying to say
you've seen people have rocks thrown at them in Dearborn?
I'm sorry?
You've seen people have rocks thrown at them in Dearborn?
Yes. Yeah, and no, those things are on YouTube also because that's where I saw them. In fact, I was shocked that I hadn't heard more about it. But we all know how the media does things now.
So
it sounds to me hard to believe, but send me a link if you find it. But Hassan,
no, I'll jump in. I know what he's talking about too. The rock throwing was when we had the Arab American festivals way back. They canceled them since then because of these incidents. But those are because of those groups that would come in holding signs that say Islam is the devil and this is that, and go through the whole Arab American parade, egging people on. I'm going to also turn around and go back to the same thing. What happened in Dearborn? Barry, let's be real on this topic. Let's take the same people dressed the exact same way and have them go down to 7 Mile in Hoover, go down a side street and chant racial slurs at a group of young, African Americans sitting there hanging out. What kind of beeline footage are you going to get? It's the same thing. These guys came dressed up in tactical gear, trying to provoke everybody, and only went after young teenage males. There was only 10 people there. We made sure to not let them even get a spectacle. We called everybody and told them not to show up and make a big deal out of this. We've dealt with this as a community multiple times. You gotta remember all the hospitals in the area, we have people from our community that are working all across the state, helping everybody. Yet our community, because of faith, we get turned somehow that now we're anti our country or anti our state or anti our community. We get told the call to prayer is something that's happening in Dearborn that's crazy, but nobody's talking about that it's passed in our city, that it was allowed, everybody voted for, as well as all the churches' bells go off because we are a religious city in general. We have Catholics, Protestants, Muslims. I mean, there's more churches in Dearborn than most cities in Michigan. So the whole idea that there's some crazy takeover or something going on, this was just a group of people trying to get a raise. I've actually sat with these people and we signed an NDA. We're supposed to have a debate about what they came there for. So I can't really discuss all the, but again, a lot of people stir a lot of things just to provoke and build their narrative and their cause, but it's just to fuel division. I mean, is it really smart to start pushing Republicans away when these are the same Republicans that helped Trump get elected in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, I remember in Ann Arbor, I used to go to these anti-war demonstrations, and there was always one guy there who had his name was Blaine Coleman, who had a sign that would say that the Israelis are all the Klan, the KKK, and everybody would try to get away from him and get him to stop and go away, and he never would. Or for another example, there was the big lockdown protest in Lansing that time. Remember, and thousands of these truckers showed up, and then one guy shows up. James Chapman is his name, who's a convicted violent felon who's got a naked Barbie doll hanging from a noose and saying this is Gretchen Whitmer, and everyone's trying to get the cameras away from him, and you can't help him because he's got his free speech, But this is a pretty common tactic, is to agitate and try to disrupt and discredit, whenever people are assembled.
I mean, it's something we dealt with in the 12th district for a long time, as we've been trying to get Arab American Muslims more involved in the Republican Party. There's people that don't want them to get involved, and there's, for obvious, I don't know, numbers reasons, votes reasons. There's a lot of other reasons that don't make any sense. I mean, we're the Republican Party. We need to get a stronghold. We need to get ahead, and the more we try to push people out and play this game, this whole idea that any Christians are getting harmed in Dearborn is crazy. I'm a child of a Christian woman that got with a Muslim man, so that breaks your the whole logic there. And they split apart. They're still very good friends. I mean,
I disagree. It doesn't break anything.
there's nobody getting. When has there been one Christian harmed in Dearborn? When has there Barry? When has there been one report of any Christian harmed in Dearborn as a actual crime due to faith? That's other than when you have agitators come. Like, realistic, when has any Muslim gone to their neighbor and said you're Christian and bashed them over the head? It doesn't happen.
Okay. Again, this is why this is important. I never said that, Hassan. You see how you just changed the argument?
What do you mean? In the beginning of this, you said Christians they're threatened by Muslims in Dearborn, and we don't want them there. We're going to commit harm to them when there is none of that. You started the whole conversation that way.
We just saw the video, and
video of what? Of the guy spray painting his own truck, and while people are yelling at him in the background.
Okay, and this. Right now, what we're doing, just absolute nonsense. You know good and well those people were attacked down there, and I'm sitting up here having to like really. You asked me to show you something. See, this is where
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
you just told me that I was saying Christians are being attacked. I'm saying I told you I saw the rock video where they were throwing rocks at Christians. I saw the mayor tell the guy, if you don't want the streets named after Muslims, you're a homophobe and we don't want you here and blah, blah, blah. I saw that stuff. And not just that, but I also, my biggest point was trying to tell people that the Quran does not encourage harming Christians. Listen, just like I knew that you were a Muslim the day I met you, I didn't hold that against you, like you didn't hold me being a Christian against me. And like I said, man, to me, all of that stuff is irrelevant until you start breaching laws. So
who breached what law? Who came to whose city? Who came disrupting? Who came antagonizing? Did Muslims
that
leave and antagonize?
That didn't break the law. That didn't break any law.
Nobody's saying
breaking the
that
law.
broke any. Nobody said that broke the law. I'm saying
Okay.
who's the one antagonizing? Again, you're going after who assaulted them? They were
You're talking
children.
about
You're
antagonizing.
talking
I
about
said
my.
the law. I'm talking
Barry,
about the law.
nobody was arrested there because those were minors. Because they went after minors trying to agitate them. 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds. They didn't go after anybody, an adult that was
They
going to have it.
punched the guy in the
They
face.
had.
They
They
sucker
had to.
punched one of those guys in the face, Hassan.
Again, I'm gonna say the same thing. Same people dressed the same way go to any ethnic group and throw slurs at them. You're gonna get people that are gonna act out. It's just how it's gonna go. It doesn't
Okay,
matter
so
of what faith or what ethnicity.
and my point is that if you act and break the law, then you have broken the law. Because
100%.
somebody pissed you off doesn't give you the right to punch them.
100%. Nobody's saying that anybody has the right to do that.
You were saying it was mitigated by
if I go
the fact that they were.
if I go to somebody's house and cuss out their mom and I get socked in the face, they're probably gonna go to jail if I press charges. But does it mean I was right for going there and doing that? No. But yeah, law's gonna do what it has to do. But I'm still the agitator.
That analogy is way off away from anything we're talking about. If it's against the law to hit somebody, if it's against the law to hit somebody, it doesn't change if you say something that they don't like.
That. Not one person is arguing that. The law is the law.
You're saying some kind of way it's their fault. And
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they got punched in the face because they went there antagonizing somebody. Do I think that it was right for them to get punched in the face? No, but they went there knowing that could be a repercussion of their actions. Again, if I go knock on somebody's door and cuss out their mom, I know I might get hit in the face.
Again, I'm not going to ever try to justify.
But does that mean that Dearborn is a threat? But does that mean Dearborn is a threat to Christians?
What?
The whole logic is.
Listen, if you want to quote me about anything, ask me if I said it.
I'm just trying to understand your logic.
Listen, I don't change my points because somebody calls me on it. If I said it, I'll tell you I said it.
I'm not changing my points. You
said something about not liking Muslims. Like I said, to me, that's irrelevant whether or not I like you or not. And whether or not you like me or not.
Certain areas that I cut off from are still there.
You're back. We lost you for maybe 5 seconds, Hassan. You're back now.
Can you hear me? Because I can't hear anything.
I hear you fine.
Okay, I'm still just gonna go. Basically, you're telling me that these people came into Dearborn. They were agitating people. They got hit in the face. And what is the point of your whole conversation then? Okay, so somebody came here, they agitated somebody, and they broke the law, and they got the effects.
Once you start violence, then you're asking for more violence. Those people were there protesting, whether you liked them or not. They were still within their rights to protest. You don't get to punch them. And if one of those guys pulled the gun and shot somebody, I would be on the side of the guy who shot the guy who punched him.
All right. Well, we seem to have lost Hassan again. Hopefully he'll be back in a moment. Okay, he's back now. Here we go.
I'm back.
Could you hear me?
I hear you.
I was saying that the guy, if somebody punches an old man in their face, like I've seen, and I'm not talking about Muslim Christian thing, but I've seen, and the guy pulls a gun and shoots him, I'm siding with the guy who shot him.
100%. Me too.
Hit him. I said, right.
But what's that have to do with Muslims in Dearborn?
Because that escalated into a violent incident. That's
so
why.
So again, Grant, if anybody right now, if anybody from any faith goes into another faith talking crap and gets hit in the face, yeah, I'm sure. By the way, anybody goes into, if I go into a church and start saying some blasphemous stuff, I'll probably get hit in the face by somebody. Does it make the faith wrong or anything for hitting me in the face? No. They broke the law and they're probably going to get prosecuted, but I'm in the wrong there still. Like, I'm still in the wrong.
Yeah,
legally I'm not, but morally and ethically I am.
To make a side point about this, there's some case history about this, and it goes back to this famous case, and unfortunately the name of it's escaping me at the moment, but maybe the chat can help me. It was when there was a bunch of KKK members. There was a Klan march through Skokie, Illinois, and the Klansmen were charged with inciting violence because they were literally walk through the streets burning. And it was a Jewish neighborhood. And the case went to the U.S. Supreme Court. The ACLU is defending these guys. And whenever people are talking about this great, wonderful case, they always want to point out, this is like Glenn Greenwald never hesitates to mention, these were all Jewish lawyers arguing how great this case is, that yes, they have the right to intimidate people because the right of free speech is so important that we should be allowed to terrorize local populations. And I'm not sure I agree with that decision, frankly. I think when you're spoiling for a fight, when your political actions go to the point where you're very obviously doing it in an intention to intimidate people, and certainly arguing that burning a Quran or burning a flag, to me that is a provocation. And I don't know that the right to free speech should go quite that far to where you're actually intentionally attempting to create violence. So I don't know, but that's kind of the case history about it. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that case.
So it comes back to saying, well, if you're doing this, then you're trying to create violence. See, that's the first error there, because I'm not going to do anything to get myself attacked. However, some of my rights are offensive to other people. I understand that. And sometimes other people are exercising their right, and their exercising of their right is offensive to me. I still, like you said, well, I'm not saying it's wrong, or I'm not saying that now he's right for punching the guy, but if you antagonize, does your right to free speech go that far? Yeah, your right to free speech does go that far. And like I said, until the law says, well, you can't burn a religious text, then he's still within his rights. Like I said, and whether or not you want to call a guy, I'm saying I don't care if people don't like me because I'm saying stuff. I say stuff. I'm a Christian, and a lot of stuff people have said to me as other Christians, and I didn't like it because it condemned me for my behavior. Sometimes stuff convicts us of our own bad behavior. And this is one of those situations where I think the Muslim community should be self-checking. Like I've seen situations where other communities should also be self-checking. I think Black people should be self-checking right now for violence that is going on in the Black community. Blacks should be self-checking for that. I think Muslims should be self-checking when you're here and where we have free speech, and you've decided, well, it is when you say something about Allah, or you say something about the Quran. And like I said, the Quran and the Hadith, which I read them both, they both preach hatred of Christians. And we can say, well, there's parts of the Bible that say that, but not currently. The Bible doesn't tell you currently to go out and kill people. But the Quran, that wasn't just for this time. There are many of those orders to go out and kill infidels, not just one or two. You can just dismiss it. The spirit of the Quran is against Christians and against Jews. Trying to
Barry. So I don't, the whole notion that my faith is against Christianity is completely false. And with all due respect, whatever you read, bring me the entire context, and I'll sit and have a lovely discussion with you at any time, not one sentence. But you're completely. I'm not a scholar, but every time I get challenged with these, and if I don't know it, I have read it, yeah. But I am not a scholar. It's going to take me multiple times of reading it, multiple times of educating myself. It's a process. It's a lifelong process. But I have read it. And the verses that you've quoted are in defense as a nation, and they're talking about countries defending themselves. There is nothing that says go kill anybody. Our faith does not send us to go convert anybody. We're supposed to convert through our actions, not through trying to get anybody. as well as this whole notion that we're trying to kill people or the Christian people at any sense
I'm saying that the
is
Quran says that, not that every
it
Muslim.
doesn't. It doesn't, because at the end time,
Quran says that.
out of the three Abrahamic faiths, only two of them are awaiting Christ's return. Only two of them believe in Jesus. Only two of them believe that they get saved by Jesus. Only two of them believe that Jesus fights the Antichrist, and it's Muslims and Christians. And so the whole notion that we're out to get Christians is crazy, because our own book tells us that at the end days we're gonna fight alongside them to fight the Antichrist.
That
So
the,
like
uh,
you gotta
you
reread
are
it or go
you
check
are
it.
either an extreme error on that, or you are just flat out lying.
I am
The
again. You have
Quran
your phone
says
right there. You have your phone right
specifically.
there. We're in 2026. Pull out Chat GPT. Ask it. It'll
I've,
educate
al-
you.
I've
I'm not
already
lying
sent you.
or wrong. Again, Muslims are awaiting Jesus, his return. He fights the Antichrist. There's only two of the three faiths that are awaiting Jesus.
The Jesus in the Quran is not the Jesus of the Holy Bible.
It's the Jesus of the
No, it's
Virgin
not.
Mary.
No,
Allah is the Arabic word for God. If you open an Arabic Bible, it says Allah, not God, because that's the Arabic word for capital G God. But
God
again,
doesn't call himself Allah anywhere in Scripture.
God doesn't call himself God. We made that word up. During that
He
time, that language didn't even exist, Barry. So the
he
word
does
God,
he does
God,
use the word God.
he's never
Yes, he
used the
does.
word capital God. That language didn't exist in the time of Jesus. So you're false. You got to educate yourself. It came from Aramaic.
You're just being
Aramaic.
disingenuous here, bro. You're just being
I'm really
disingenuous
not.
here.
I'm actually giving you genuine fact.
You're you're
You're
you're
just
you're
fault.
you're you're I'm
So
sorry,
time out.
you're
Yeah,
denying
hey,
that the
guys,
Holy
So the disciples wrote the Bible in English.
yeah, guys, I don't want to
again.
go too far into the theological debate here because, first
Right.
off, I'm not any expert on these things. But I think to the here and now, the big question is, and the question that I think Michael Ashley Price is upset that we're doing this. But here's the thing, Mark. First off, I saw you another comment about how this is hurting Trump. If Trump is being hurt by a little old us having this discussion, well, that's just too bad. Oh yeah, here's what it is.
No,
Uh,
I
but
get what he's saying, Adam.
yeah, but assuming stuff like this is happening across the country, people are having this debate. Like, I don't. First off, as others have said in the chat too, I think there's nothing wrong with having this debate. I don't think there's a problem with discussing these issues. Yeah, Jason has a good comment here. Charlie Kirk proved nothing wrong with conversation. We stop talking, that's when things go bad. So, so there we go. Beth says, let's have the theology debate. It's what needs to happen. Well, maybe we should get more some more expert. No offense to you guys, but people who are
No, can I say something? Everybody should message
As
Jaden
far as
Scott.
somebody considering themselves an expert on the Bible, I don't like using the word expert. I don't want to put myself up there. But I read a chapter of the Bible every morning. I've been doing that for almost 20 years. And so I know what the Bible says. I understand the spirit of the interpretation. I understand sometimes the words don't exactly match the spirit of a verse. But I'm saying that in scripture, we know what the spirit of Christ is about. We know that it was never about slaughter or forcing conversion. And I'm saying that the Quran, the Hadith are both about exactly that, about killing people who don't fall in line with the faith, and about punishing infidels, all of them, especially Jews. And just saying that it doesn't, it's just so disingenuous, man. You know as well
Barry,
as I do, most
Barry,
Muslims are Jews.
okay, Barry. My family comes from Lebanon.
We know that.
Barry. My family comes from Lebanon, right? And we're Muslim. But Lebanon is predominantly it's Muslim and Christian. My village is split. They've lived side by side since Jesus actually spoke in my village, because I come from like that area, Lebanon, the southern Lebanon. They've yet to kill each other till this day. They still live side by side. living coinciding. Nobody's trying to kill. None of the Muslims are trying to convert them
What's
or do any of
Hezbollah
this.
doing?
So
What is
so
what is
this
Hezbollah
whole
doing? What is
huh?
Hezbollah doing? What is Hezbollah doing? What is Hamas doing?
What are they
Hezbollah and
doing?
Hamas.
What are they doing?
They're terrorists.
What
They
are
hate
they doing
Jews.
though?
They're attacking Jews and
You,
Christians.
the same argument could be said about the Jews that are bombing the churches in Gaza. I mean, you could go back and forth. That's a war. I'm worried about what's going on here, but
we
over
go back
there
and
they're
forth
defending them.
because
But I could speak on that as well. Hamas, I don't or Hezbollah, the whole idea, why are those groups even, why do they even exist in the first place? Is because of what? The occupation that's happened and the illegal settlements. And there's years of conflict, but the idea and the whole notion that right now there's this war that's going to take place, or that there's Muslims standing to fight against Christians in our nation, is
sleeper
absurd.
cells,
Huh?
sleeper cells.
Barry, did you serve your nation? Did you defend this nation? Have you? Because this Muslim has, but you're
I
gonna
don't
say
know
sleeper
what's
cells?
that got to do- what
Because there's more Muslims doing things for this country
and
than
I don't do
people
something else.
that you
I don't have the right
served
to
your
say what
nation.
I'm saying
No,
until I
that's not what I'm
something else.
saying. But for
But why
you
do
to
you
act like
listen?
Muslims are sleeper cells, like you're gonna say there's sleeper cells within Muslims, as if there's
That's
Muslims
just
that aren't dying for our nation.
another straw horse. You said that there was none of that going on, and I said that there is. I said
I
that
did
you're sitting
not say
there
that.
pretending that
I said
there
that
is no.
if you've ever heard any of my quotes, there's good and bad in
I'm
every
not
single
even
word.
calling. I'm not talking. I'm saying that you're implying that the Hadith and the Quran do not push
Barry, you got to give me what you're
Muslims
talking
against
about.
Christians
It
and Jews.
doesn't.
No,
It
you
doesn't.
don't know what you're talking about. You're lying.
I'm 100%
If you're sitting there
positive.
saying it, if you're sitting there saying that, you're just lying, Hassan.
I'm 100% positive.
And this is one of the things that I really resent about having this conversation, is because so for example, I think that we do have room to live in harmony. I really want to believe that. It's the Muslim community that decides they're going to make us convert into. It's happened
Barry,
everywhere.
when has anybody from Dearborn ever tried to go out
You're
and
telling
forcefully convert anybody?
now you
What are
want
you
us to wait.
speaking?
You want us to wait on an attack from Dearborn before we can say that there's a pattern where when Muslims take over, that we end up with Christians and Jews being attacked. And I'm saying we see it all over Europe, all over the world, actually. Wherever we've seen that, the Muslims take over, the Christians and Jews come under attack.
I want to cut in for just a moment here, because first off, I've been already being chastised for not doing enough to moderate this. Although, frankly, I prefer to let you guys go. I think it's just fine that way. But I will say this, because we do keep coming back to this theological stuff and what does the Bible say, what does the Quran say? And again, as I said before, tons and tons of people have no problem misinterpreting what any holy book, or any book for that matter, says.
Right.
And I just want to give you guys, and I'm actually going to plug something here. You ever heard of this guy? His name is Gary North. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But he is a Christian who set out to prove that the Bible is a capitalist document. And he did so by writing a 31-volume set of books that is together larger than the Encyclopedia Britannica, which he also published the entire thing online. So you can literally read the whole thing if you want, if you've got time for. You can see this one book of 31 is 1,300 pages. This is what actual analysis of a text looks like. It is extremely in-depth. And every single bit of it has to be broken down detail by detail by detail, and going through, hundreds of years of analysis from, not just the text itself, but from, the way church officials have interpreted over the years, history, and et cetera. You can see this is, I'm not going to go through it, but the point being, hold on, there we go. This is not what you get when you have a casual analysis of a holy book. Like to say that, what Muslims in in the U.S. believe is not going to be the same as what Muslims in Gaza believe or Muslims in Chechnya believe, and the same for Christians in America versus Christians in Russia versus Christians in Armenia. They're not all one thing, and I'm very cautious when people say a religion is something that's got to be objected to. Jason says he's going to take some bourbon to get through the rest of this. Look, hey, Barry wanted to have this debate. I'm happy to have it. I think it's been fine. I tell you what, though, let's take a different direction, because here's a question that Ron Picard, it's not a question, but he says, Brandon, do we push Muslim vote to the Dems, or what can we do to get some of that vote? Which I guess is really the more fundamental political question is there, should the Republican Party be, there's certainly clearly there are elements in the Republican Party that want it to be a distinctively, actually I don't want to say Christian, I want to say Zionist party, because they definitely want to have the Zionist voters in there, but maybe that's a different direction, but I don't know. Clearly there is some hesitation from people about us even having this debate, so I don't know. Barry, do you think that the Republican Party as an institution should be confronting and opposing having Muslims getting involved with the party? Not just voting, but even getting involved in the Republican Party?
I think that's an awesome question. Okay, so this is what I really think. I think if you get clarity on anything, then you can make a good decision about it. This is my whole issue is the confusion that's coming out. Even so, for example, like as you were just saying, well, you're not an expert, for lack of a better word, I would say I am an expert. I think I'm qualified to speak on what scripture says and the spirit of it. And I've read the Quran and the Hadith, and I would say I'm not as qualified for that, but I can say that without a doubt, anybody who reads it is going to come away with the conclusion that they don't like Christians and Jews, and that we are under a death threat unless we convert. So I'm saying that if you operate under the knowledge of what it actually says, then you can stop walking around and all of us can stop walking around being shocked or saying we can try this or try that if you know what the end game is. Do you know what the end game is? I see the end game played out in London and Paris and a bunch of other spots in Europe, Sweden. Like I said, and most of us believe that that's the end game for here because the Quran and the Hadith actually indicate that is their end game. So, and about stuff being misinterpreted, we could all go around saying that anything it says that's unpopular or we don't like is misinterpreted. I'm not misinterpreting anything. It says what it says, and it means that's the spirit of it. So Christians have been going around just afraid to actually say it. That's part of the problem. We're just afraid to come out and say, this is what your doctrine says. Now, obviously, I have never had a problem with Hassan, and I still don't. I'm saying that if you know what the doctrine says, then make a decision based off of that. But it's just saying, somebody says, oh, it doesn't mean what it says. Christians do that all the time. They say, oh, this so that I can go and do my other stuff that I really want to do. But the truth is, it says what it says. And because I'm not accusing Hassan of trying to kill people, I don't think he's trying to kill people. I don't have a problem with him. I'm saying some do have a problem. Some do. And, and when they come and when they punch somebody in the face because he's got bacon on the Quran, or because he doesn't like what the guy's saying, I'm saying that they're in error, they should be punished. That's what I'm saying.
All right, I'm going to read some chats here. Larry says, Barry, I've been to the UAE and Jordan. Why aren't Christians being killed or targeted in those countries? And by the way, I mentioned briefly Chechnya, which always strikes me. People are talking about this great clash of civilizations. In Russia, there's no conflict at all between the Muslim and Christian populations. It seems like this is a uniquely American thing, and I think it might.
Adam,
Go
it's
ahead.
because well,
Oh,
Barry
what
again.
about
When Barry,
London?
Barry, hold on.
London?
When you're saying that it says all of this, Barry has yet to prove that. With he said he read it. He said he found this verse. He put it on my Facebook. Everybody's more than welcome to log in, check my Facebook, look at Barry, and it's on his as well. Look at all the verses he dropped. Look at everything, the whole lovely description, the argument I had. You've yet to find one verse that actually your claims stand on, because none of them do. But you keep claiming you read my faith. I've yet to say anything. Hold on. I've yet to say anything negative about anybody else's faith. It just seems like mine's under scrutiny. Yet you forget that this nation is founded on the freedom of religion. So nobody's here, even the Muslims in this nation, nobody's trying to convert anybody. We don't go and knock on people's doors trying to convert them, Barry. When has a Muslim ever knocked on your door trying to convert you? It doesn't happen. We're not missionaries.
That's what
Our
the
faith,
Quran says.
no, it does not.
Yes, the
You're
Quran does
wrong.
say.
You're
It
wrong.
says, if they
No, it
don't
doesn't.
convert, then kill them.
It does not. It does not. We're not supposed to pressure anybody to convert, Barry. And I'm saying that, and you could vouch me on it. And you're more than welcome to come here, sit with any of our scholars. I invite you to actually sit with the scholar. I've gone to Sunday school. I'm not arguing anything about the Christian faith. You're arguing mine. I invite you to come to Dearborn. I'll sit you down with a couple scholars. I'll let them educate you. You'll sit down, have your argument with them, show them your verses. They'll explain it to you. If you leave there right, we could put it live on for everybody to watch. Adam, if you want, you're more than welcome to host it. But I will debunk your claims, because what you're doing is spreading division and hate within our state. And you're not helping any of the cause. No.
When somebody calls you out on the truth about
Again, prove it. You have no facts other than your hate.
I sent you 4 quotes
and
from
I
the Quran.
argued them and debunked you fully.
They don't mean what they say. That's your response to them.
That is not. Go back on your Facebook and reread it. I actually went through, showed you that I pulled out the whole thing of the little sentence you gave me. I explained it all, went into great depth. So you're completely wrong. Don't gaslight everybody that's watching to push your.
You're the one gaslighting.
I'm not. I'm telling everybody go read it.
You're telling people that the Quran and the Hadith don't tell people to hate Christians and Jews. Man, that's just
all right. Hold on. All right, Paula, this is coming from someone who has knocked on doors and worked with Muslims in Dearborn. Muslims and Christians have more in common at the end of the day. If you take issue by issue, we agree 85% of the time, which is as much as anybody. 2 people tend to agree on things.
So true.
Let's see what else we got here. I did, by the way, post a link in the chats on Facebook and YouTube for that Gary North website, if people want to check out more of what he was saying. Don Cruz says Iraq's Christian population plummeted by 80% since the invasion of Iraq. Which one, Don? I can't. There's been a few. Let's see. Ron Picard says, "Oh, I already read that one." Anyway, let's see here. Robin says Jesus is God. Think of the properties of water. God equals water. Jesus equals ice. Holy Spirit equals steam. There you go. Jason says every religion has its extremist sides and their non-extremist sides. Well, I wouldn't say the religion has the extremist and non-extremist sides. I'd say there are extremist and non-extremist people, and whatever faith they might have seems to often be incidental.
Adam, can I add something? Because I liked Robin's thing. I wanted to add, because Barry read the Quran, or he claims. Who's the most quoted prophet in the Quran? Barry? Who's the most prophet figure, period, talked about? No, you're 100% wrong again. So it's Jesus. Sorry. He's the only prophet in first person, third person.
Jesus in the Quran is not the Son of God.
It is the son. It's the son of the Virgin Mary. Yes, it is.
He's not the Son of God. You see, this is where the theology really comes in.
There's a difference in theology, but it's the same Jesus that was.
There's a name that you guys are trying to place and make it Islamic. It's not Islamic. That's not the same Jesus.
First thing, that's not true. In the Quran, he's called Isa, not Jesus. So that shows that you've never read it. It's again different language. It's not Jesus. It's Isa in the Quran, but it's Jesus, the son of the Virgin Mary, The whole story, the crucifixion, that it's all there. So where you're saying it's not the same Jesus, you're completely wrong. Just because we look at him in different lenses doesn't mean it's not the same figure. It doesn't mean that we're not waiting for that same Jesus to return. But you read it. What does it talk about end times, Barry? What does it say the Muslims? What is the Muslims' goal for end times, Barry?
Islam is evil. It is evil. And
You're just a hateful person that's uneducated. You're honestly, but again, you're very uneducated in
Sometimes
this
you gotta
matter
look at
and
what you
speaking.
say, and you gotta read, and you gotta say that's what they mean. So when Hamas parachutes into Israel and goes in there and kills it,
Hamas
and
is
they
not a
yelling,
representation of
Allah
Muslims.
Akbar,
The
that's what
KKK
that's about.
was a Christian group. It wasn't a
No, they
racist
weren't.
group. Yes,
No,
they
they weren't.
were.
They were
Yeah, they're
calling themselves
classified
Christians.
as a Christian organization, but we
Okay,
don't classify
so
Christians based on them. So now
no,
you're trying to say Hamas is a view of all Muslims?
you're
It
saying
shows
they're
your
not. No, I didn't say
arrogance.
they were all
It
Muslims. I
shows
said
your
they were Muslim.
arrogance.
Again, that's just you changing the words so that you don't have
I'm
to
not.
actually be accountable. Yes,
I'm
you
really
are. You're
not,
not.
though. I'm
Listen,
arguing your words. You're just going
everybody
circles.
knows that Muslims hate Jews and Christians. Why are you
That's not
sitting there
true.
trying to
Barry,
pretend
Barry,
that that's
Barry,
some
that's not
bullshit?
true at all. There's
It
Jews
is
and
true,
Muslims and Christians that
son.
all love each other. There's a big clash right now between Muslims and the Zionist movement. You could say that,
Trump just
but
had
it's
to go
not
over
Muslims and
Nigeria
Jews
and
or.
put some missiles up some more Muslims' butts about Christians in Nigeria.
And
You
you
And
know,
like
could
I said, and
there,
like I said,
hey,
you could go to a lot of
is just
countries
fighting
where.
back.
in the chat, I want to read this comment in the chat because it's interesting in that this is Ronald Mate post. KKK was a Democrat group. I don't think the point. Well, here's the thing. I think most Democrats would say that's an unfair comparison, which is I think goes to what we're talking about here, which is that just to impute the religion of Islam with Barry with all the things that you claim it's doing.
I'm saying that's what the Quran says. I'm saying obviously I know that there are Muslims who don't participate. I'm saying the Quran does say that, and so
So
does the Hadith. And I'm saying that
okay.
he's sitting there saying that it doesn't. He's just lying.
Hadith first
All that is, he's just lying.
hadith are supporting stories that go to the faith. They're not faith, they're not God's words, they're not for us, and each sect of Islam follows different books of hadith. So whatever you're quoting could be for any sect of Islam. You're very, very wrong when you keep saying hadith and hadith. Nobody really runs off of hadith. We run off of the verified hadiths that are in between and the Quran. And none of your claims are in the
Well,
Quran.
it's
Not
Muhammad
one of your
telling you how
claims.
to be a good
Keep on
Muslim.
going. I'll be right back. I want to grab something to show you. I'll be
Sounds
right
good,
back.
Ed.
On
It's,
TV.
it actually is the Hadith Muhammad telling other Muslims how to be good Muslims.
There are some hadiths of those, yes.
Okay,
But there's
you're saying,
hadiths of the friends, there's hadiths of there's hadiths of Ram, and there's some that are verified, some that aren't, some that we say, some that certain sects want to verify, some that other certain sects don't want
I'm
to
saying
verify.
if
You're getting into
anybody is sitting
it's
here and they're listening to this and you believe in that the Quran does not tell Muslims to kill
hey Barry,
infidels.
everybody could pull up Chat GPT right now and just ask it. It has the whole Quran memorized. It could literally tell them you're wrong. Like
No,
you're completely
it
wrong.
won't. No, it doesn't. I sent you.
Try me live right now. Try
I've
me.
already
Try
sent
me.
you quotes. You just said
Barry,
that all
Barry,
your
try me
response
live.
was
Try me live
that
right
they
now in
don't
front of
mean what
everybody.
they say.
Barry, put
That
your
was
money
your
where your
response.
mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is.
I
Pull out your
already
phone and
did.
try it.
I'm not
Do
gonna
it
keep
now.
doing. I'm not
Do
gonna
it in
keep
front of
giving
everybody.
you stuff so that you can just say,
Right,
"Oh, that's not what it means."
it's because you're the one. You're literally your whole thing is propaganda. It's all there's no factual, concrete evidence backing you. The same thing your thing in Dearborn that you're trying to weigh on. Everybody and their mother could see that these were people that were antagonizing other people and they were antagonizing young people. I even told you if the same thing happened in the hood, you'll get the same outcome from any group. You're gonna get it, and it's gonna make great beeline footage. And my other thing is, why did those actors?
That's just
Why
an
did those
absolute
Barry,
lie.
Barry, Barry?
That's
Why
an
did those
absolute lie
Barry,
that you
Barry,
just told.
Barry,
You
Barry?
can
I
come
did not.
through and protest
Barry,
all the time without
Barry.
being attacked. Hassan.
If they go through the hood right now, 7 Mile and Hoover, and bulletproof vests, walking around, talking racial slurs, you telling me that nobody's gonna act out? You're a
Again, you're just saying
liar.
you're just projecting bull
I'm
crap
not projecting.
because
You're
it
trying to.
serves your
You're
purpose.
trying.
Man,
No,
you're
that's
trying
not
to
true.
say that we're
You're
justified in
gaslighting.
attacking Christians who protest in Dearborn.
Nobody is
That's what you're
justified to harm
saying.
anybody.
You're justified in
Barry,
attacking
it's pure
Christians
logic,
who
my
protest in
dude.
Dearborn. That's what you're saying. There's a justification for it. They shouldn't be here.
Your whole logic doesn't hold any weight. All you're doing is spreading hate.
Nobody
and you're
believes
harming
you.
any of
No, nobody believes you.
The problem
Hassan.
between me and you is
Nobody believes you.
You
Everybody knows you're lying
Barry,
right
Barry,
now.
Barry,
Everybody
Barry,
knows you're
Barry,
sitting there pretending that
I'm not
that
pretending
ISIS
that
doesn't decapitate people. That
they do.
they
They
don't
do,
hate.
but they're not.
They
They're
don't
not
hate.
representation
They
of
don't hate
Muslims, my
Jews.
guy.
They don't hate
All right,
Christians.
all right, guys. Let me cut in for a moment here because I think we're got in a rut here. I do want to mention this. I want to mention something because I'm reminded a bit, Barry, when maybe it was about 10 years ago. There's a whole big thing that came out where there's a lot of people talking about Sharia law and what Sharia law is. Sharia law is coming, and this book came out called. Here, I have the book here to prove you I bought it and read it. No Go Zones: How Sharia Law is Coming to a Neighborhood Near You by Raheem Kassam. I can tell you because I read this book looking to find the evidence that I've been told exists about this, and it is not in here. It is literally, this is not what any serious researcher would call scholarship. It is, look, I even wrote wrote in the book, hearsay, nonsense, like page after page. There was nothing in it. And I'm seriously looking for like this
argument I'm making against Islam. I'm trying to. What is that? Is that comparable to what I'm saying about Islam?
Well, I'm not saying it's comparable to what you're saying, but my point being, I have yet to see the hard evidence of the threat of radical Islam as something other than a political talking point encouraging people towards political outcomes. I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm saying I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, I will make it my business.
Not for not having looked. I'm trying to find it.
Adam,
I'll make it my business to send you a few quotes. The thing is, there's so many of them in the Quran that really, I could just send you, like I said.
Send me it.
I've already sent them to you. All you
sent me two and then another two.
You sat there and read it and said, "Oh, that's not what it means."
That's not true. Check
exactly
your Facebook. Hey, Barry, don't lie. Check your Facebook.
No,
don't lie
you
to the
don't lie.
audience.
I sent you all of that stuff.
I will screenshot it and put it in the comments right now if you'd like.
Why don't you do that?
Comment section. By the way, hit the like button if you like the content. And guys, you're welcome to leave comments. And we might do a follow-up show on this even if there's interest. We have a good number of people watching tonight,
Adam, can I ask something? If these people came to Dearborn and it was all in good faith, they were just trying to preach that Jesus is king and do all this, why, when they sat down and talked to me, that I had to sign an NDA? Why did I, knowing their whole plan, how they planned it, what the reasoning, why, before they'd sit down and talk to me, I had to sign an NDA? Before we planned a debate between me and them, I had to sign an NDA. It's because there's a bunch of foolery going on.
The Christians are the bad guys. That's what.
No. There's definitely bad actors that are definitely stirring the pot, as in people that are uneducated, speaking, trying to cause divide. For what purpose? I have zero idea. But what is it doing in our state? Nothing that's helping us.
I'll tell you what it's done for me. It's made me safer. It makes me aware where I am, what the circumstances are, and I don't take them for granted.
Yeah, Barry, you better watch out.
While you're sitting there acting like, oh, it's not good. Right now, you're in the majority. You know good and well, if Muslims tried to blow up, they wouldn't get much further than Dearborn.
Hey, I have a question for Hassan, and this is.
But once they're in the majority, and
so I'll tell you, we're gonna blow ourselves up now.
No, I'm saying once you're in the majority, then things change.
Hey,
Once
Hassan,
I'm a conservative Muslim. I'm minority.
I have a question for you, Hassan.
in Minneapolis.
Hold on. I have a question for Hassan. This was floating around the internet a lot recently. What is the story with the prayer sirens? That people were talking about that every morning these prayer sirens.
Yeah, we have our call to prayer in Dearborn. It was the city authorized it, just like we have the church bells that go off for the time. I mean, all the religious institutions are allowed to do that in Dearborn because we're a holy city. So when everybody's like, "Hey, there's the Muslim call to prayer," that's what's going on in Dearborn. Everybody's not saying that every other religious institution has its calls to prayer as well. It's just ours is the call to prayer where churches use bells. You know, if they had their own chant, it'd be playing as well.
Fair enough. Bethany says, "What we need is all comments on all platforms to merge." Well, that would be nice, but unfortunately, that's not the way things work. For my money, Rumble's the most free speech platform there is, but unfortunately, that's not where the audience is. So there you go. Jason Mickelborg says, "May Allah be with Hassan and may God be with Barry. Let's get actual Republicans elected." All right, I do think we should wrap it up a little bit. We've been going for a while here. So if you guys want to make some closing remarks, I think that'd be appropriate. So. And who wants to have the last word?
Barry, go ahead. I'll say it after. I mean, on my end, I was invited. Go ahead.
So most of what I say, I'm a little bit older than you guys. I've been grounded in my faith for a long time. I'm never claiming that I'm really, really all that holy or anything like that. But I'm saying I know what God calls us for. I understand it. And it's not always to back down and shrink away because we're going to have some adversity. In fact, scripture calls Christians, it says, when you touch not the unclean thing, come out from amongst them. The Bible does not call for unity with everybody. And I'm saying the whole idea of that I need to be unified with anything and everything is ridiculous. I mean, that's a talking point for some political party, but for a real Christian, that's not the command. That's not what God commands us. He says, be ye separate and set apart and come out from amongst them. And so, and if someone preaches to you a different gospel other than this, then don't break bread with them and don't wish them Godspeed. So those are what my faith tells me, and I believe those things. I believe everything in Scripture. So if that makes me an extremist or whatever, then that's what I am. I'm saying I believe it. Where it tells us to do certain things, or somebody said, well, the Old Testament tells you to do this to these people. I'm not doing that. I'm not killing people, but I'm saying I'm not going to sit back and just go along with something because somebody doesn't want to fight, or somebody thinks that we can't stand the adversity, or if we don't say, yeah, everybody's the exact same, then there's something wrong with us. I don't believe that. And I hope all Christians realize that you got to stop being scared. And scripture even calls the cowards, that the cowards won't enter heaven either. So I tell you guys who think that you're just going to sit back and watch people lie and mislead others into deception. Watch our other Christian brothers believe that, no, you can be a Muslim and not hate Christians and not hate Jews, because it's not true. If not, if you're a real one. So Hassan gets the last word.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, my whole view is very different. I was asked to come on here and I assumed I didn't think it was theology, but it's theology. I believe in the American dream where all of our faiths are personal, that we all have our own liberty. We all connect to God how we want, and we have no right to push it on to anybody else. That's why you'll never see me push my faith on anybody else. I'm also going to ask everybody on the show to go honestly, pull out your phones. Like I asked him, chat GPT, whatever you want, because now we're in the new age. You could get all the info right on your hands. My faith doesn't teach to kill anybody. If anything, my faith wants the three to be close in hand. There's people and political parties in other nations as well that push this rhetoric and push against each other. And in our nation, we should be all uniting as Americans and practice our faith independently, because that's kind of what this whole nation was founded on.
All right. Well, I get the last word. I think you're both wrong, and there's only room for the one religion in the GOP, and that's the Satanic Synagogue of Zionism. That was a joke. That was a joke. But like all good jokes, there's a little kernel of truth in it. So, all right, guys. To be continued. We will have a stream on Tuesday night. Shane and Chair's going to be back when we talking about the Venezuela thing and maybe the Ukraine stuff too, because there's been a lot of things about that. Updates every week from here out on Operation Watchdog. We are again tracking everything they're doing in Lansing, and we will keep you guys posted and perhaps do alerts as needed. Barry and Hassan, both of you guys, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being good sports. Thank you guys in the chat too for your comments. Sorry I didn't go to all of them, but I'm trying to be a fair host to everybody here. So I think I gave you both equal time and all that. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Remember, again, hit the like button. And again, as always, folks, thanks for all you guys do for liberty. And until next time, which is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Peace.